Welcome back to the Career Mosaic, where we challenge the myth that students must lock into a career path from college. I am your host Mandeep Singh Bucher, founder of MindScan Education. Today we meet Kabir Lal, founder of the Real Image Company and co-founder of Shoot Guru, and the host of a podcast, Founder Unboxed. This creative powerhouse delivers podcasts, video, production, corporate films, and photography, all for visual storytelling from his studio in Gurgaon. After years in the corporate world, Kabir followed his lifelong passion for photography and visualization, leaving structured security for the unpredictable world of creative entrepreneurship. He's now built a thriving business that proves corporate skills plus creative passion equal unstoppable impact. We'll explore his transition, business lessons, and advice for young creators who are feeling stuck in safe careers. Let's dive into Kabir's journey from corporate corner office to creative command center. Welcome, Kabir, to the Career Mosaic. Definitely want to learn a lot about your journey, academics, corporate life, and your current avatar as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, a visual magician, if I could use that word.
Communicator is more like it.
Visual communicator. But I want to start with you worked in the corporate field, and I think that was what your formal education also was.
Correct.
So, just an overview of that, what led to that, and then we'll talk about the transition that you've made.
So, thank you for having me, firstly. I think it's great to be here. I've had a rather unusual life,
Okay.
I may say. So, like a lot of Indians who, right after school, do undergrad and then masters and then start working, I broke up the pattern a little bit, right? And so right after, I did undergrad, I did go to college, but I decided not to do my masters right after my undergraduation. I decided to work in an area that I thought I had a liking for and I had a future in. So from finishing my third year college for about 4.5 years, I joined my first employer, my first company, in the area of fashion manufacturing and fashion, not design per se, but merchandising and manufacturing
Right.
was the area I chose to be. But my chosen area of work was fashion, clothing and fashion, right? So I joined a company in Bangalore where I got an absolutely fabulous understanding right from ground up, because I joined at really the lowest we could start at. But I worked up my way to being product manager for a division. But I knew that I wanted to study more. But because I had already chosen a direction, it was easy for me to select a specialization.
Correct.
Also. So right after doing 4.5 years of work, I decided to appear for the NIFT entrance exam.
Yes.
Right? But there too, I chose manufacturing as an area of specialization, because I realized that the choice was between merchandising and manufacturing. I had already 4.5 years of experience in merchandising. So I thought, okay, if I have additional qualification and understanding of manufacturing, that will make me a very well-rounded professional in the area of fashion. And I think it worked out very well for me. I did well in NIFT. I got in NIFT Delhi. Did 2 years, and also I think I was top 4 or top 3. I don't remember. But anyway,
Not surprised.
Top ka hi nahi hota hai, but I was happy with my performance, and I got one of the better jobs from campus itself.
Lovely.
So that worked out well, and luckily the strategy that I had worked for myself in terms of having experience, that helped me all through the 2 years of NIFT.
Right.
Because I was, the slots had been made. Let's say the pegs were there. I just had to hang information on that. So I had an understanding of the industry. So what worked in my favor was that, I kind of dug deep in an area of choice.
Right.
Got a practical. So you can equate it to what a lot of people do today in terms of an internship.
Correct.
I decided to not do an all-time internship by taking a job and get paid for it as well. And because I liked the field, I kept going deeper in that, and then did my master's in that. And the job after that luckily, I joined a consulting company which, kind of had me look at not only what I had studied, but also the experience that I had had, and I was able to present that to my clients and through the consulting work as a more well-rounded offering to my clients as well. So
Lovely.
that worked out well.
So what you've touched upon is something which as career counselors we always speak about. 2 points actually. One is of course the internship.
Correct.
Try and gain exposure to what you may have an inclination towards. But I think the other thing is, like you mentioned, that you were able to identify for yourself, and I think that comes with self-belief, that comes with confidence. Obviously the environment around you, parents need to be there. A couple of other conversations we've had with people like yourself, Kabir, the importance of a mentor really came out. One of our guests spoke about his first boss at a corporate was actually the person who encouraged him. Someone was speaking about a teacher from school who noticed a spark and encouraged her. You've had mentors along the way, I'm sure, and what role have they played?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I would also like to say that the company I worked with in Bangalore, my boss was my mentor through the time I was there. And
Right.
although the decision to get into NIFT was still mine because I did want to study further.
Correct.
And I did want to go deeper in that. But he really helped me in understanding the bigger picture of the industry and where all can it take me.
Correct.
I've had an extremely global career with experience not only in Asia, briefly in the Middle East, but also in the West, in the United States.
Correct.
I've had exposure in working in several countries in Asia. I worked in Sri Lanka, in India, in Bangladesh, in Vietnam. I've worked in Bahrain, Dubai, briefly on projects. Then I worked in the United States, and I've traveled extensively for the industry to South America, to Africa.
Wow.
So I've seen the industry really closely, but someone who really helped me see the vision was, yes, definitely my boss from my first job in Bangalore. But
Lovely.
if you permit me, I want to talk about one thing.
Yeah, please.
Because I don't want to take credit for the fact that, I had clarity of vision right from the word go. No, I did not.
Okay.
It was an interesting turn of events that got me into fashion.
Right.
But that was not my first love,
Okay.
right? So the story gets a little interesting here. Right? When I got into my, finished my school, I wanted to be a filmmaker then, right?
Okay.
A cinematographer and a filmmaker. But the biggest bummer, and I guess it's lack of research, right? The biggest bummer was that for cinematography in an Indian, that's for the Pune Film Institute, you need science to do that,
Oh.
right? The information used to be very sketchy at that point in
Agreed.
time, and trust me, this is way, way back. These white hair would tell you that story, but yes, it was way, way back. And I had commerce, so that was out. And I had a choice of joining another program in the same institute, but the seats were very, very limited, and I didn't make the cut in that. The other thing was, I think the traditional belief that a lot of creative careers come with an element of struggle and uncertainty. Whereas if you were to go into a job and then work your way up, is a surer way of...
Yeah, that's something that lots of parents hold true.
Correct. And as I realized, as I lived my life, that may not be entirely true as
Correct.
well. But I'll come to that part later. So initially it was filmmaking and cinematography, which kind of got bummed out because of the course program. I did not want to go abroad. I could not go abroad, but I decided in my second choice, which used to be, again, close to creativity, but also with semblance of a structure. See, what is important for me in my life, as I realized in school and college, but also beyond that, I do need a structure. Structure is something that makes me thrive. systems and things like that are very important. So I realized that, okay, I need to do a job which has a good balance of structure as well as growth potential. Fashion, when I started the industry, was a very booming. Textile markets
Right.
were opening. India was growing in terms of fashion. So it was something that, was really aspirational. And of course, large companies and even small companies getting larger. So that's what I chose finally. And it was a deliberate decision to go into that direction. It wasn't, I mean, I did not regret going into this. It
Right.
was my second choice, although not the first. But I came back to my
You
first
came back.
choice.
We'll come to that, but
Yeah.
you mentioned that you've traveled across
Yeah.
the globe really, and you
Correct.
worked.
Correct.
At MindScan, we always tell parents, we always tell students that formal education has a very important role.
Yeah.
But equally, there is learning outside the classroom, and that comes from travel, reading, sports, internships you and I mentioned
Correct,
earlier.
yeah.
So, if you were to pick up one or two things that you've learned as a result of working in diverse environments, and while that was a different time, that was a different industry,
Correct.
but you feel those still hold you in good stead today.
The unfortunate part of Indian education is that we define education very narrowly.
Yeah.
Very, very narrowly. I mean, 3 years or 4 years and then a master's of 2 years or 1.5 years is insignificant in your life.
Right.
With the kind of things that you learn through the years, through working, through moving through life, through interpersonal situations, that is education.
Very
And
true.
We take 10% of that and say कि इतना तो होना ज़रूरी है. I mean, I'm now for different opinion. I got into the same traps. I did my undergrad, I did my master's. So I did all that. But the fact as I can see now in hindsight, is that all the years I was not in college, I was also learning a fair amount,
Absolutely.
right? And obviously, as the more you travel, you realize that, it's a single small little planet. And I don't see any difference in people in Africa or Asia or America, or North America, South America. सब लोग उतने ही इनसिक्योर हैं, सब लोग उतने ही टेरिटोरियल हैं, या सब लोग उतने ही जनरस हैं.
Correct.
It's the same everywhere. Minor variances might happen, or situational variances might happen, but people are exactly the same. And the sooner we realize that all boundaries are artificial, all differences are artificial, and the moment we are able to see that clearly, I think life really, really takes a different turn and a happier turn, I think. That's what it is.
Awesome. Yeah, you brought out some interesting points.
Yeah.
Go back to what you said. First love was towards cinematography, filmmaking. You took a detour via fashion.
Correct.
And now you founded the Real Image company. So talk us through that journey and how did you... I'm sure there were obstacles. I'm sure there were questions in your mind, in your family's mind.
Correct.
Tell us about that journey.
Obstacles तो हर जगह होते हैं, Mandeep. I think it's what you make of them. If you look at them as opportunities, and I realized that my detour from fashion was meant to be, right? Because it gave my thinking in terms of structure, in terms of running organizations, in terms of working with people, a very strong foundation, right? I think in organizations we are told that there's something called formal authority.
Yeah.
I think it's only in name. As a boss I've run factories with 1,000, 1,500 people or more. I've run organizations with large teams as well. But the fact is, till the time you don't understand what drives them, what motivates them, and how to work with them or talk to them in a language that they respect, or any kind of formal authority is just a name. You have to be able to figure out who you're working with and what drives them to do what they do. So it's really, at the end of the day, absolutely industry agnostic, absolutely career agnostic, field agnostic. It is a person working with another person.
Right.
That's the unifying theory, right? The moment you understand that, of course, I've also held positions in school in terms of prefects, in terms of vice captain, captain, all that stuff. And I thought that, okay, getting a badge will give me some kind of magical powers. No, it's still how you come across to people. If you come across an entitled and with a chip on your shoulder, they will not treat you or give you the respect that you could have got, or do things that you want them to do, or believe things that you want them to believe. Nahi, but if you come to them with humility in terms of interpersonal respect, then things move. And I realized this not in my, in early few jobs. I learned the hard way. But I realized this when I went to the US, and I got into a job in fashion, but I had a lot to do with selling fashion, selling technology in the area of fashion, right? I realized that, the approach of people I'm selling to is very positive. They respect you for who you are, right? And sometimes in India, I felt that, there is a divide between who's buying and who's selling.
Correct.
Right? So that could be something that is social, or that's something that can be, explained in different contexts. But that was a very big understanding for me, that irrespective of who you are still bringing in some value. And as a service provider or as a product provider, you're not begging for, you are still giving people value.
Right.
So the moment you realize that, your stance changes, and the people also give you a little more respect. And I was able to bring that into the new company that I started after I moved back from the US. It was, of course, a change of career. It moved away from fashion and or technology, and moved into what I'm doing now, photography, media, filmmaking. But I understood that, if you are an expert in your area, you go into a meeting, you are the expert, right? And you have to believe that you are the expert.
Yeah, self-belief in yourself is, I think, self-belief is important.
Very true.
You have to back yourself, and you learn along the way. Very true.
And I think that also changed my approach in selling, changed my approach at how I presented myself. Although, yes, I did have the benefit of many years of corporate work and running factories and companies, but learning nonetheless. So I was able to learn that, bring that in, and that kind of held me in good stead throughout the new venture that I started as well.
So while you built all these skills, you built all this learning, and I know your work spans various aspects. There's architecture, there is, there is the nature side to it, there's everything. Yeah. But still, and your main role is as a visual communicator for businesses.
Correct.
But there would still be elements that continue to surprise you every day. How do you deal with those, and do you think all your varied experiences have helped you build up a skill set to manage those kind of surprises?
There are two elements to this, Mandeep, and I'd like to bring in also the technical know-how of your field. Because surprises भी technical भी हो सकते हैं, और organizational भी हो सकते हैं, client relationship में भी हो सकते हैं, so हर जगह से होता है. But let me talk about technical challenges and importance of knowing what is the right thing to do technically.
Right.
Now, of course, when I used to live in the US, I always wanted to do filmmaking and photography, but I was also of the belief that I don't want to jump into a new career without having the right knowledge with me, right? So I did do a program for about 3.5 years in photography and basics of filmmaking in the US itself.
Right.
While I was working there. So that helped me, give me a foundation. So it brought me, when I moved into setting up my own company, it gave me a very strong belief that yes, I can tackle the basics.
Understood.
I can tackle ground up.
Yeah.
पहले organizational experience तो पहले भी हो चुका था. So from both points of view, dealing with clients, running an organization, and technicality, all three were kind of, either learned with experience or learned through going to school. And then I was able to get into my first... getting into setting up my own company. So, जहाँ तक surprises की बात आती है, कुछ level तक surprises mitigate हो जाते हैं when you have the benefit of having studied it, right? It's not the end of it. It'll never be the end
It
of
never
it.
will be.
But the fact is, you are going with a little bit of assurance and a little bit of confidence कि हाँ इतनी basic knowledge तो है मेरे पास. And I would like to reiterate that for your viewers, that whatever your choice of field or choice of interest is, do take the time to research.
Yeah.
And do take the time to study it, even if it's a short 6-month, 1 year, 2 year program that you can do. It really changes the game.
Very true. And I just want to pick up on this, Kabir.
Yeah.
You brought out repeatedly the importance of investing in yourself to build skills formally. You said you also studied part-time while working.
Correct. Yeah.
And okay, from a parent's perspective, let me ask this question. Parents feel कि जी ये non-traditional careers में it's more luck, unstructured है. आप गाना गाते हो, जी 1000 लोग गाते हैं. आप जी sports में जाना चाहते हो, big deal. Maybe you want to be an artist, you want to be a visual communicator. So, what would you want to tell a parent of a teenager who is keen towards a non-traditional career? Are there still some basics that are equally important? Are there some tools? Is there a mindset that student can work on, which will give the parent the confidence कि हाँ यार मेरा बच्चा कर सकता है?
I mean, I want to answer this from 2 or 3 levels.
Okay.
Right. So be ready for a long answer. One is, of course, my own experience, my going to college and then choosing careers. Second is, of course, my experience as a father.
Yeah.
And I've seen my kids and their choices. And of course, kind of amalgamation of these as general gyan.
True.
Okay, so be ready for a long answer. So, looking back now, there were certain areas which I was happy that I did, but there are certain areas I wish I did.
Okay.
Right? And because I don't see anything going forward as a traditional career,
Okay.
certain areas of knowledge are critical across industries.
Right.
Now, let's say you consider going into medicine as a traditional career, right? Becoming a doctor. What percentage of people get absorbed by hospitals out of the hundreds and thousands of people? A lot of them also choose to start their own clinics.
Correct.
Right? You are running a business, right?
Correct.
If you don't have core experiences of dealing with people or understanding the finance and working of an organization, God save you.
You're going to have problems, absolutely.
Right? I also run a podcast called Founder Unboxed,
Yes.
where I'm meeting founders across industries.
Correct.
And this is one learning I've had, Mandeep, कि कुछ भी करो, कंपनी चलानी है, फाउंडर को सक्सेसफुल होना है, तो if you are only a technical specialist, you are dealing with an insignificant part of your business.
Overall business.
Right? Even for somebody who needs to be technically very strong, let's say a dentist, right?
Yeah.
The core area is he or she is being paid for that job.
Correct.
And that. But you are not a solo player ever. If you want to run an organization,
True.
if you want to run an effective organization, you are dealing with people, you're dealing with investments. It's a high investment area. You're dealing with patients. कई चीज़ें लगती हैं successful organization बनाने में, right? Technology का understanding,
Very
technology, understand. So my suggestion, also because my kids are old and they are in their careers at this point in time, and both of them had the flexibility of choosing their path, and they chose diverse paths.
Correct.
Right? Very, very diverse paths. And for both of them, I had nothing but support. Right? Of course, advice, yes. Both their parents had advice for them.
Correct.
And support for them wherever they needed. Maybe some, kind of a little bit of a, realignment, and वो advice होती थी हमारी. We were still parents. It
Correct.
was not that we were, observers. But the fact is that if they believe in something that they want to do, we may question. but not to dissuade, but just for them to be sure
To be
that
sure,
that's what
yes.
they want to do. It's not a fad. It's not a, okay, acha, because my friend is doing it, I'm doing it, right? To understand it, they are really, really deeply keen in it, but not to challenge, because मैंने ये सीखा है अपने बचपन में कि the only things that work is X, Y, and Z. No, the world is different,
World is very different.
and it's only going to change.
Yeah.
So for them to know certain base parameters, certain base knowledge is good. But yeah, if they continue to learn, if they continue to keep working on themselves, that is more important. So that's what I would say, the amalgamation of all these
Very, very
learnings
true.
that I've
And you-
had. So
You've touched upon a very important point and that's something we also tell parents, that just because you've come to a career counselor doesn't mean that you can step away from your own responsibility, because you understand your child better.
way better.
Okay, another thing that lots of people are apprehensive about is the role of technology. What's your opinion as a professional in this field? Is technology something to be scared of as a business owner, as a person who's, for a 20-year-old who's getting into a job, a career, or is there more to technology than that?
So मेरे बचपन में मुझे याद है एक ऐसे का टॉपिक होता था या डिबेट का टॉपिक होता था, is science evil or abhishap या whatever, is it like you were pro science or anti science, like that kind of thing. Then that evolved to technology being pro, technology
True.
being but that was probably 80s 90s. That question was only then. Now there is nothing which is called tech. Everything is tech, right? In
It's
my
all
industry,
pervasive.
it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I use tech. I can't think of a day without tech. My job cannot be done without tech, right? My thinking cannot be done without tech. My planning cannot be done without tech. My meetings cannot be done without tech. So for me, tech is not something which is extraneous to my work.
It's imbibed, it's part
It is
of it.
the same thing. It enables me to do things better, faster, sharper, with less waste of time, less waste of money. And it is, we are all tech these days, right?
So true.
Yes, I don't program. That's a part of tech that I don't do. But AI everywhere. AI, for a very biggest part, has eaten away photography. At least if people are planning to get into photography, I would say think very deeply about a world which is 5 to 10 years from now. It's great to be it's great to be purist. Okay, I will, filमें भी बन चुकी हैं कि I always have a camera with me and I will, think only that way. No, that doesn't make you money. Right? You have to be a smart technologist and a smart whatever you want to do, but you have to have technology with you.
And
in
you have to
doing
know how to
whatever
use
you
it.
do. And you absolutely हर चीज tech enabled है आजकल. And
Very true.
how the only differentiator is how you can do it better with technology. Right? Anything which is a purist of that industry, maybe pottery, or something like very handicrafts, maybe, I don't know, but I'm sorry, but everything else has technology in it. So there is no differentiator, honestly, between what I do and what I think tech does.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you spoke a while back, and I want to just circle back to that, Kabir. You spoke about the fact that you didn't follow the traditional path.
Correct.
Graduation, work, experience. So for youngsters who are looking at a creative pursuit, filmmaking, visual storytelling,
Yeah.
and they are scratching their heads कि यार हम experience कहाँ से लें?
जी.
Is the Real Image Company a place that they could knock on the door and say, we are passionate, we want to know more about it? Mr. Lal, can we learn with you?
Yeah, in fact, we are very dedicated to knowledge.
Okay.
So I'm a co-founder of a brand and a company called Shoot Guru also. And that is a learning dedicated platform.
Lovely.
Right. So if you go to Shoot Guru on Insta, You'll see my partner Kshitij's face there, but it is dedicated to learning, it's dedicated to teaching. So people can associate with us through Shoot Guru, and we are happy to look at formal learning because we run our own workshops and we run our own programs. They could be extended, 6-week programs, could be internships followed by that, could go up to 6 months and things like that, depending on what you want to get into. Unfortunately, the opportunities get filled very quickly.
Absolutely.
And because we have a fair amount of followership on Insta, so when we say opening available hai, wo seconds mein ya minutes mein khatam ho jati hai. So it's a little, we would love to do more. We would love to, keep helping in teaching. But let me tell you something, Mandeep. Even our style of teaching in the last 10 years has evolved so significantly. Till 10 years ago, I was doing workshops in photography where I was focusing on what a camera does.
Okay.
Right? And you won't find it surprising. Obviously, you have to have a camera to do
Correct.
photography, right? That's the basic. You got to know that. I feel a camera is optional now. Right? You have to look at your job not as a photographer, but as what photography does. It communicates. It helps people sell stuff, it helps people market stuff, or it creates art out of a visual.
Correct.
Abhi, there is no restriction. A camera is optional in creating a visual, right? With the advent and with such powerful AI tools available, a photographer is one avenue of creating visual stories.
Interesting.
Right? So, the definition of a photographer, again, is very limited at this point in time. Or I would say a visual communicator is very limited. Is what you should go
Is what
after.
you should aim
but
at.
A photographer is only a small part of that.
You're restricting your own
Absolutely right.
approach.
So what do you want to do? That is my question with students. If you want to help communicate, if visual imagery turns you on, if visual imagery is what you want to go after, don't restrict yourself just to 10% of that path, right? Or maybe 20% of that path. Camera is a device to gather visual data. What you do with that data is really what matters at the end of
That's the skill.
That's the skill. How you use that photograph or series of, or video or whatever it's a data gathering device. That's what it is.
Awesome, Kabir. I think if I put on the hat of a parent and I were to listen to this podcast from the comfort of my home, I think it'll give me a lot more confidence if my son or daughter were to come to me and say, Dad, I want to follow this. And especially this last part wherein the way you've managed to explain and disassociate the career from a tool.
Correct.
I think that's really what the game is going to be all about for youngsters.
Absolutely.
And for their parents to get comfortable with this. Thank you so much, Kabir, for throwing light through your journey, for sharing with us about your experiences. And I'm sure that parents and teenagers who are looking at storytelling, the creative part of it, the filmmaking part of it, will gain a lot from here.
Absolutely.
Pleasure having you on the Career Mosaic. Thank you so much, Kabir.
Thanks so much. And if you are okay, I could love to give some advice to parents as
Please.
well. Sorry to extend this.
No.
I see it's difficult to... We are always rooted in the past. So we look at things with the lens of the past.
True.
But I think if parents can try and take that lens off and look at how the world is moving forward and what their kids are passionate about, take it from that point of view and see, okay, koi predict to nahi kar sakta hai, but the fact is there are signs and there are directions, general pointers in that direction. So for a parent to support a kid in the direction, I think is really a very good starting point. Baki ultimately bachcho ko hi karna hai sab kuch.
Correct.
And we can only help them and support them from the sidelines. But there's so much exciting stuff happening, and storytelling is at the richest point at this time in its life, and we have so much to look forward to. Great.
Awesome. Couldn't have wrapped it up better myself, Kabir. Thank you so much for your advice and loved what you ended this show with.
Thank you, Mandeep. Thank you so much.
Kabir, thank you so much for sharing your inspiring pivot from corporate life to building the real image company and Shoot Guru. proving that business acumen plus creative passion creates unstoppable momentum. Your story demolishes the myth that students must choose their exact career in college. Skills transfer, networks matter, and passion finds its marketplace. Connect with Kabir Lal on Instagram and explore his Founder Unboxed podcast for more entrepreneur wisdom. Thank you for listening to the Career Mosaic. If Kabir's journey resonates, share this episode, subscribe for more stories, proving you can pivot towards purpose at any stage. Until next time, find your visual voice and make it heard.